Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we're taking another look at another deck that gets a huge buff from Dimension Force. Sorry, messing around with the light there. It's zombies. Zombies are really cool. They get like a lot of really cool synchro support in this set, including 3 extra deck synchros, and then I think 2 main deck monsters, a spell and a trap. Most of those cards are legitimately playable. I like this build a lot. It's really cool. I do think it does have some bricky issues, but we'll talk about that as we go, and certain things I would consider to kind of mitigate those issues. But yeah, without further ado, let's just jump into it. Starting off with the normal summons in the deck, obviously Uni has been and always probably will be the best normal summon for zombie builds. And then triple Gozuki. Gozuki's particularly good in this deck because he's not a tuner. A lot of the zombie monsters in the archetype are tuners, and so it's actually better in certain situations here to actually have non-tuners. So really good to have Gozuki here and Uni. I feel like this is pretty sweet. And we also have plays where, like, even if you open both of these, you can like get rid of Gozuki and then like either pull him out of the hand or summon him from grave. So you can get both to fire off in the same turn, and that's pretty good. So yeah, not too much to say there. Moving on to the gigantic suite of zombies that we'd rather have in grave than on field, or in hand, I guess. Double Mizuki, double Necroworld Banshee, double Shang-Chi, the Spirit Owl, and then for the little babies, 1 Bloom, 1 Plague Spreader, and 1 Mad Mauler. As far as this suite goes, Mizuki is Mizuki. I don't really need to explain him. I thought about playing 3 of him because there are 2-card combos with him and one of the extenders we'll get to later, but at that point, like, I feel like you're just going to also be drawing him pretty consistently, and we don't really want to be drawing him too much anyway, so I'm okay with that. Necroworld Banshee, got to play it. Some people play this at 3, but again, like, too many in the hand is just rough. I think 2 is perfect. We're already maxing out on Zombie World, but this just means our engine can get us there, even if we don't hard see it. But we do want to hard see it because it means we can send something other than Banshee if we want. And I also like having 2 so that even if we use 1 early, if our opponent does remove Zombie World and that's our win condition, we can potentially get back to Banshee and Zombie World yet again. Shang-Chi is one of the new cards here. This card is awesome. On field, it can just send a zombie from deck to grave. Obviously, that's very good. That's exactly what zombies love. Its other effect, though, which is kind of weird for because it's level 6, is that if this card is banished, you can banish 1 zombie monster from your graveyard to special summon this card, but place it on the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field. So that's pretty good. As long as you can get this in grave with like any sort of setup and then get it banished, you're going to be able to pretty much just summon it out. So it's a pretty good extender. 2 comes up for very specific reasons that we'll get to a little bit later on. I think it's a card you could play at 1, but I think 2 also has advantages. So I'm messing around with this. We'll see how we end up with that later. And then for the little ones, Bloom, Plague Spreader, and your Mad Mauler, all tuners, all summon themselves from grave, except for Bloom. Bloom gets another monster from grave, but have to play it. I love that it's just a 1 of in the deck now. That feels super right. I will say, with these, I almost consider not playing Plague Spreader because Mad Mauler doesn't even, like, banish himself, which is really good. So, like, even once you use him, you can potentially just use him again on the next turn. So, you know, I kind of like that. But Plague Spreader is still nice. They come up in, like, different combos depending on the situation. And, yeah, but it is still kind of like another brick in the hand. And that's really the downside of the deck, is that you really want to see exactly these 6. And then these, you would be totally fine with, like, not seeing any in the hand. But we do have some cards that help mitigate that. You'll see that in a little bit. The last of like the actual zombie package is Doom King Ballardrock. Just 1 of this. We have other win conditions in this version with the synchro stuff and extra deck cards, so I don't think it's super mandatory that you like go super hard on this guy, but he is still really nice to say the least. And then for the hand traps, all zombies, triple Ash, double Bell, and double Ghost Mourner as well. What I like about these is that with a specific extender we have later on, these put a zombie in grave, even if you don't have Zombie World live on your opponent's turn 1, so that way by the time you get to your turn, some of your extenders become way better, which is cool. So, and also if you have Ballardrock and your opponent like shotgun removes your zombie world, being able to fire these on the opponent's turn to disrupt them will then also trigger Valor Drak to then be able to get a quick banish from hand or from field or grave as well, which is really strong. And they're all just solid in the format anyway, so feels pretty good. You got to have some defensive cards somewhere. And now we get to the spells. Starting off here, Triple Zombie World. I don't really need to explain this. This card absolutely dunks on Floowandereeze. Floowandereeze tends to have good matchups versus most of the metagame, but this is a very specific deck that just has such a powerful matchup because of how easy it is for you to get to this card. They literally cannot get to any of their payoffs with it on field. For Reborns, we play double Zombie Reborn, one Monster Reborn. I thought about playing 3 of this. I think it's solid, but it's not out of this world crazy. I do think having like 1, if you see both, like 2, you'd be able to activate both in the same turn as long as you get enough zombies in grave. But yeah, so this card, if you don't know how it works, it targets a zombie monster in either grave. You have to banish a monster with the same name from your deck or extra deck to then reborn it. So it's a little bit weird, but like because you can only really banish stuff that you like have another name of straight from your deck or extra deck, so it doesn't always reborn everything. Also, if this card's in your graveyard, you can shuffle a banished zombie back into the deck, and if you do, you set this card. So it actually does be follow-up, but you can only use 1 effect per turn. So this card's actually kind of awkward because you use it turn 1, you wouldn't be able to set it until turn 3, so you literally wouldn't be able to activate it again until turn 5. But if a duel is going slow, you know, this card being able to come back is pretty good later on. There for a couple extenders, Foolish Burial, as well as Gold Sarcophagus. Looking kind of weird here. Foolish Burial makes a ton of sense, right? We have, you know, what, like 6 different good targets to send off of this. That makes perfect sense. Gold Sark is the weird one, but with Cheng-Shi, this card kind of just feels like a little bit overpowered. It's like if there literally just existed an E-Tele card for Cheng-Shi. It is at 1 though, so it's like somewhat balanced, but the idea is if you can, all you need to do is put any zombie in grave that you don't mind banishing, and then this card just says like summon Cheng-Shi straight from the deck. And then not only do you get a level 6 on the field, but she also gets you Ascend for another zombie, which is incredibly powerful. And she's 2,000 beater, she helps you apply pressure. So Gold Sark actually kind of makes just a lot of sense in the deck as a one-off, but like still a really good extender with like very minimal setup. It's like just E-Tele for Cheng-Shi, which is really powerful. Then to the extender we talked about earlier, triple ready fusion and 1 instant fusion. These cards are incredibly important because they actually allow you to pair very reliable levels with what the deck needs. And so this card just becomes huge. It helps you get into Hulk through interruption, it helps you get into Hulk period. It helps you make synchro plays into like Immortal Dragon or even the higher level synchros that we play. And so the extenders for this are just super important. These just feel really good. This plus Mizuki is like a 2-card combo. Mizuki, not even anything else. Like because Immortal gets you Ascend, Mizuki's gonna get you a Reborn. You just have hella extension from that point, and they help you like get to you know, how plays and stuff from there, which is really good. So these feel really good. They pair with a lot of the brickier cards in your main deck and just kind of allow you to extend, but also like add consistency, make cards that are just dead in the hand, like a 2-card combo essentially. For defensive cards, triple super polymerization. I don't really need to explain this, do I? Like with the ease in which this deck sets up Zombie World, like this card just craps on people and it discards. So all of that entire, whatever, 10 monster package I showed you of cards that you honestly don't love having stuck in the hand, this card helps get rid of them. I would also say play droplets. Hell, I would say play both. Like, screw it. Like, these help you go second so hard. If I owned Forbidden Droplet, I'd probably drop like a copy of Ash and then drop the last 2 cards we play in the main to just play droplets as well. Play like 6 hand traps with 6 just hard, really good going second cards that allow you to get all your zombies out of your hand and into the grave when need be. So really, really powerful. Obviously, I love that this deck can inherently super poly any deck no matter what. And it does so even better than Lair. You guys know I love Lair, but this deck does it even better because the engine actually gets you to Zombie World, whereas you're not always as reliably getting to Lair of Darkness in Lair. So really, really powerful. I think you got to play it, especially with Despia running around too. Like, you hit that deck so easily. And then we'll call it. This deck isn't like the weakest to hand traps, but like the right hand trap at the wrong time in a weaker hand can be very detrimental. So I still like playing Called. I just play it in everything. Like, I just can't not play this card. It's just so flexible and good. In times it could be really good going second. It's really good going first, obviously, and you know, hard drawing it later in duels can also be super clutch. And the final two cards I play in the main is Rivalry. Like I said, if I had droplets, I would probably swap these two and maybe side this for like matchups that can't handle it, as well as like maybe the third Ash and just play 2-2-2 for the hand trap lineup, and then play like triple droplet, triple super poly. Because Droplet's just been good in every format, just doesn't matter, and as long, especially if you're playing a deck that has a lot of cards you want to discard anyway, it's just too good. So, but Rivalry is a really powerful card as well. This card will allow you to steal duels, even if you don't have Zombie World up, but if you do, even more so, because the ruling is like once your opponent summons a monster, now they have a zombie on the field and they can't summon anything that's not a zombie while Rivalry's face up. So you can lock them into one monster, they just can't play. And even if your hand's kind of poo, I do like that this card can probably just, you know, until your opponent sees like exactly spell and trap removal, just literally halt your opponent's plays until you see a way to play, because your whole deck is zombies. We don't care about that. But yeah, 40 cards in the main, trying to keep it somewhat consistent, trying to minimize a little bit of the bricketry by not maxing out Mizuki and Necroworld Banshee. And I'm also, just keep in mind, I'm also considering dropping Plague, but I don't know, I have to mess around with that. I do think it's possible to drop one Changshi and then the Forbidden Droplets if you can afford it there. But yeah, pretty standard, I think. Like, nothing too crazy here. I think everything makes a lot of sense. But the plays are honestly, like, they don't seem like it, but then when you actually like go through them, they actually end on some pretty significant stuff. So into the extra, starting off with the links. One, Relinquished Anima. This is just a card that helps you clear your Glow Up Bloom from your field. It was either this or Linkuriboh, but like at that point I was like, this card actually could have the potential to like have a higher ceiling. Whereas Linkuriboh, we only play the one bloom. So once you like link the bloom off and it banishes itself, it's just gone. So like Linkuriboh's never like coming back. We don't play any other level 1s in the deck. It just like doesn't even like do anything. I don't know why you'd play Linkuriboh over Anima, to be honest. Whereas this card could actually like punish something like an Appaloosa pointing up into your zone, you know, like an access code that you might have kept from killing yourself, just summon it and like take it. Like that could be really, really funny. I just feel like there's a higher ceiling for this card overall. Then for the link 2s, one Halki Fibrax, one Vampire Sucker, and one Avenged Savior. Hulk is a must in this deck now, especially this version. It's really cool, and it's part of your end board where you leave it on field and you tag it out into Formula Synchron to help you get extra synchro plays on the opponent's turn. It's really cool. Vampire Sucker, pretty standard. I would say one thing though, be very careful with this card. Try not to overextend with this if you do not have to, because you can get punished with it. I actually was watching MBT's CSM for May last weekend, and I literally saw a dude, and this had to have been round like 6 or 7, one of the last rounds, and I guess this guy was doing pretty well at this point, and he like made Vampire Sucker in a turn where he already had Ballardrock on the field and with Zombie World up, and if he had just passed, he would have had both of Ballardrock's negates, but because he did that, his opponent had exactly Called by the Grave set the entire duel, and he gave them the absolute perfect time to just punish him for it, and he ended up losing the duel in game 3 because of that. So just be careful. Don't be too greedy with this card, but if you think it's a safe play, then go for it. And then Savior. This card shouldn't come up too much, but sometimes you just need to clear zombies off the field, and this guy, if you don't already have like Ballardrock coming back, it can be better to help you just get an extra send in the battle phase in like a mid-range board state. From there, the higher links we play is one Vampire Fascinator and one Yuki Onna. Fascinator is actually surprisingly good. It only requires 2 monsters as long as one of them is a zombie. On Link Summon, you can kind of like take an opponent's monster from their grave, and then you contribute a vampire monster to target a monster your opponent controls and take control of it until the end phase. So like on Summon, it reborns a monster from your opponent's grave. Then you could use it to like take another one of your opponent's monsters and then link those two into something like a Savior or a Vampire Sucker, or if one of them's a tuner, even something like Hulk, and like extend while also ripping a monster off your opponent's field. It can actually be pretty good. And then Yuki Onna, you could play other stuff like Access Code or Appaloosa or whatever for Link 4s, but I just like this because it's zombie based and it's honestly good. Like it allows you to, if you have like Zombie World on the field, go Fascinator, reborn it, and then just take Fascinator and it into this. And then this card's pretty much a house. It like negates banished monsters, so that's actually pretty good versus like Despian Tragedy. And then if a monster summoned from the graveyard or a monster effect is activated in the graveyard, you could target another monster on the field, change its attack to 0, and negate it. So that's another thing. This deck can move effects, you know, activate effects sometimes in the graveyard with like a Banshee engrave or something as a quick effect, and then be able to trigger this card, and then also scares your opponent away from doing those kinds of plays as well. I think it's a pretty good card overall. But like usually you're doing synchro plays, those cards don't come up as often, to be honest. Speaking of the synchros, the new ones, we play one of each. One Immortal Dragon. This is supposed to be, what is it? Felgrand, Skeletal Dragon Felgrand, I think. This is pretty good. And then one Red Eyes Zombie Dragon Lord. So for Immortal Dragon, this card is really good. Just on like main phase, you can just send a zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard, and this card's level becomes the difference of the original levels of that monster and this card. And then while any zombie is destroyed by battle while it's in the grave, it can just reborn itself. That's actually really good. It just punishes your opponent for ever going to battle phase on you. Really, really good card here. I love that this is just so easily accessible. And this is, by the way, a completely generic tuner. I wouldn't be surprised if we see or Synchro. Doesn't even need zombies for anything. I wouldn't even be overly surprised if we ended up seeing like packages played in non-zombie decks where you just, it's a deck that can make level 6 synchros really easily. So you just like make him dump a zombie extender and then just like, boom, summon it again. And like just have like crazy extension for no reason. I can honestly see that happening. Then you have the Felgrand. Felgrand says if he's special summoned, you can target a monster your opponent controls or engrave and banish it. Really, really good. Especially since once you get him in rotation, you're trying to just summon him over and over again. And then if a monster is special summoned from either graveyard while this card's already on the field, you can target another face-up monster on the field and negate its effects till the end of the turn. Two pretty solid effects all in all. He's not completely generic. He does need a zombie tuner though. And then Red Eye Zombie Dragon Lord. This card really, these two cards work together so nicely. So this card says during your opponent's turn as a quick effect, you can quick effect reborn any zombie in your grave. And then if this card's in the graveyard, you can banish a zombie you control to special summon this card. So it gets itself back on field if your opponent like sends it to grave, and every turn it's a monster reborn on the opponent's turn. So the idea is like you go into Immortal send like a tuner or whatever, then you extend, then you use him in something to make the 8, and then you can use any other level 2 extender, tuner extender to get into him. And then once he's on the field, he's quick effect reborning your Felgrand, and Felgrand is just, you know, banishing a monster. And then if anything summoned from grave, he's triggering again to negate a monster. You still have Immortal Dragon in grave, which floats if your opponent ever tries to battle, clear over anything in battle. And if they clear Red Eyes, he can reborn himself. So it's just so easy. These cards like are actually so good, I think. Once you get them all set up, it's like really annoying to work around all 3 of them at the same time, just because they all come back, they all get each other back, and it's really, really cool. I like them a lot. Sorry I don't have the Felgrand, by the way. It was the only one my local shop didn't have yet. I have it coming in the mail, but until then, you know, we're chilling. For the rest of the synchros, 1 Formula Synchron and 1 Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Chenging. Formula is the play off of your Hauki Fibrax. You end on the level 8. Your Felgrand with Hauk on the field. You'll go Formula. You'll Hauk tag into Formula to get you a draw. Then you'll use those 2 to get into your Red Eyes Dragon Lord, and then you already have the Felgrand engrave, so you can quick reborn to go that. So that's one route to get to the level 10, or you just go into the generic level 10 you play if you think it's better in that scenario, like Cheng-Ying. You can also use Balorjock as well, because he's a level 8, and you know he's coming back as well, as long as you have Zombie World up. And so I have Cheng-Ying here. This should probably be Barone if you have access to it, but I don't, so I'm just playing this. It's another good option. This deck has ways to banish super easily to trigger him every turn, so I appreciate him. And then finishing up for the fusion stuff, 2 Alvain, the Essence of Vanity for the fusion extenders, Ready Fusion and Instant Fusion. Really good. This is the only one you need. I thought about playing different ones, but they just don't work as well. This one is a tuner, so no matter what, it can just go into Hauk, even if the other card doesn't pair with it perfectly. And it's a level 2 tuner, which is so perfect because with Gozuki and Mezuki and Banshee specifically, they're all just exactly level 4 monsters, which is just super, super important. Also, let's see, one more thing. Let me check on him. No. Okay, never mind. I was going to say one more thing, but that won't come up. But yeah, this card's really good. it's all you really need as an extender. And if you have, you know, Zombie World in the field, it counts as a zombie anyway, so you can go into zombie links and stuff. It's good. It seems to be the best target by far. Maybe there's an argument that you could play a different second target for very specific scenarios, but they haven't come up, honestly, for me yet. So I don't even know what I would look at there. And the last two cards in the extra, one Dragostapelia, one Draco Necro. You should never really need too much more than this. You could side other super poly targets if you wanted, but like whatever. I mean, this is more for like Despia right now or any fusion-based deck. We'll see with Tier Elements and stuff when they come out. And then Draco Necro, you can hit any deck with this as long as Zombie World's up on the field. So making super poly absolutely bananas. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The deck's really cool. I personally am more of a control player, so like this is not my absolute forte, but like I still respect and I like these new cards. The Synchro cards are very cool. A couple good extenders in this set for sure. I think this build definitely has some legs to it. I think you could top, you know, definitely win a locals, potentially top a regionals with this build on a good day. And you know, you build correctly versus the meta, but it's a really cool deck. I definitely recommend it if you're a zombie fan, just to mess around with it and you like the more offensive stuff, not just the pure Ballard Rock, you know, turbo build. We do like to set that up in this build. It's just not the absolute, you know, #1 win condition, and nothing else really works. But yeah, really, really good. Definitely recommend. Thank you so much for watching, though. As always, guys, I'm going to get the hell out of here before I ramble too much longer. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe if you have not yet and you want to see more deck profiles from your boy down the line. Peace.